The ships came without warning on a Tuesday morning in March. 10,000 of them appeared in Earth's sky, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They blocked the sun over New York, Tokyo, London, and a dozen other cities. The world stopped. People stood in the streets and looked up at the metal giants floating above them like dark clouds. Commander Daniel Hayes watched from the Bridge of the Unity, Earth's largest warship. His crew was silent. On the screens around him, news channels showed people crying, praying, and running through the streets. Daniel had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. He had trained his whole life to protect Earth, but nothing could have prepared him for this. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Megan Park from her station. Her voice was steady, but Daniel could see her hands shaking. "Put it through," Daniel said. The main screen flickered, and a creature appeared. It stood 8 feet tall with a body covered in hard black shell like an insect. Its eyes were large and red, and when it spoke, its mouth moved in ways that did not match the translated words that came through the speakers. "I am Ambassador Kethrol of the Galactic Dominion," the creature said. "We have watched your species for some time. You have recently discovered faster than light travel. This brings you under Dominion law." Daniel stepped forward. "I am Commander Daniel Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with other species." The ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. Under Dominion law, any species with less than 10,000 years of space travel is classified as a servitor species. Your kind will be distributed across our worlds to serve the elder races." Dr. Laura Bennett stood beside Daniel. She was Earth's leading expert on alien communication. She had spent 20 years studying signals from space, hoping to find friendly life among the stars. Now her face was pale. "You mean slaves," Laura said. "You want to make us slaves." "Servitors," the ambassador corrected. "You will be fed. You will be housed. You will serve. This is the way of the galaxy. Every young species accepts this. It has been so for 50,000 years. Daniel felt something cold grow in his chest. It was not fear. It was anger. The kind of anger that burns slow and deep. "How long do we have to respond?" he asked. 72 hours, Kethrol said. "Your leaders will surrender your population for distribution. Any resistance will result in demonstration strikes on your cities. We have done this many times. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your ships are toys compared to ours. Accept your place in the galaxy, humans. It will be easier for everyone." The screen went dark. The next 70 hours were chaos. World leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Generals argued and politicians shouted. Some wanted to surrender. They said humanity could not win against an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. Others wanted to fight, even if it meant death. Daniel and Laura traveled to Geneva, where the World Council met in a bunker deep underground. Admiral Nathan Cole was already there. He was an old man with white hair and cold eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and never lost. Now he faced the greatest enemy humanity had ever known. "They have never faced resistance," Cole said to the council. "In 50,000 years, every young species has surrendered. They do not know how to fight a real war. They have forgotten. And you think we can teach them?" asked the president of the European Federation. Cole smiled. It was not a nice smile. 30 years ago, we detected their signals. We knew they were out there. We knew they might come. So we prepared. We built weapons they cannot see. We built ships they cannot detect. We have been waiting for this moment. Laura spoke next. "I have studied their communications. They are arrogant. They see us as animals. They do not believe we can hurt them. That is their weakness. Daniel looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. He saw fear. He saw doubt. But he also saw something else. Something that had kept humanity alive through ice ages and plagues and wars. He saw the refusal to give up. If we surrender, Daniel said, our children will be slaves. Their children will be slaves. For thousands of years, humans will serve alien masters. We will lose everything that makes us who we are. Our art, our music, our freedom, our future. He paused. Or we can fight. We might die, but we will die free. And maybe, just maybe, we will win. The vote was not even close. At the 72nd hour, Ambassador Kethrol appeared on screen again. Behind him, Daniel could see the bridge of the Dominion flagship. Hundreds of aliens worked at stations, confident in their power. Have your leaders made their decision? Kethrol asked. Daniel stood tall. Larva was beside him, along with Admiral Cole and representatives from every nation on Earth. For the first time in history, humanity spoke with one voice. We have, Daniel said. Good. My ships are ready to receive your population. We will begin with your largest cities. Families will be kept together when possible. You should be grateful. Many elder races wanted to simply harvest your planet for resources. You misunderstand, Daniel said. We are not surrendering. The ambassador's red eyes blinked. Excuse me? We decline your offer, Daniel said. Earth is not yours to take. Humanity is not yours to own. We reject your laws. We reject your empire. And if you try to take us by force, you will learn why humans have survived everything our universe has thrown at us. Kethrol stared at the screen. In 50,000 years of Dominion history, no species had ever refused. He did not know how to respond. You are making a mistake, he finally said. You cannot win. Daniel smiled. It was the same cold smile Admiral Cole had shown earlier. The smile of a species that had hunted mammoths with spears and split atoms with their minds. Maybe not, Daniel said, but we can make you pay for every inch. We can make you bleed. We can make sure the galaxy never forgets what happened when you tried to enslave humanity. He leaned forward. So come and take us? If you can. The transmission ended. High above Earth, the Dominion fleet began to move. They expected an easy victory. They expected fear and surrender. They had no idea what was coming. High Commander Verthan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Judgment. He was Seth Rani, a reptilian species with green scales and yellow eyes. His people had conquered 100 worlds. He had personally led the subjugation of 12 species. None had lasted more than a day. Target their largest cities, he ordered. 3 demonstration strikes. Once they see their people burning, they will beg to surrender. His weapons officer nodded. 3 beams of light shot down from the Dominion ships toward Earth. They were planet crackers. Weapons designed to melt cities into glass. They never reached the ground. From the dark side of Earth's moon, hidden platforms activated. Invisible beams intercepted the Dominion weapons and scattered them into harmless light. The weapons officer stared at his screen in confusion. What happened? Verthan demanded. I do not know, High Commander. Our weapons were neutralized. The humans have some kind of defense system, but our scans showed nothing there. Verthan hissed. This was unexpected, but not a serious problem. Send in the assault carriers. We will take their cities by force. 200 Dominion carriers descended toward Earth. Each one held 10,000 soldiers. They had conquered worlds with less. As they entered the atmosphere, they expected no resistance. Captain Ryan Torres watched them come. He sat in the cockpit of the Nightfall, an experimental stealth destroyer that did not officially exist. His ship was painted black, designed to absorb every sensor signal. To the Dominion, he was invisible. "All ships, this is Torres," he said into his communicator. "Wait for my mark. Let them get close. Let them think they have won." Around him, 50 stealth ships waited in the darkness of space. Their crews were young and scared, but they were also angry. They had seen the Dominion's message. They knew what slavery meant. The Dominion carriers passed through the atmosphere. They were almost at their targets. Now, Torres said the stealth fleet struck from every direction. Missiles that the Dominion could not see hit the carriers from below, from above, from angles that should have been impossible. Torres flew the Nightfall through the formation like a ghost, firing at close range where their shields were weakest. Lieutenant Megan Park sat behind him, controlling the weapons. 3 down. 5 down. They are trying to lock onto us. They cannot lock onto what they cannot see, Torres said. He spun the Nightfall in a tight spiral, dodging return fire that came too late. Hit the flagship. The Nightfall shot toward the Eternal Judgment. Verthan saw it coming at the last second, a dark shape against the stars. His eyes went wide. What is that? The Nightfall's main cannon fired. The shot punched through the flagship's shields and tore a hole in its hull. Alarm screamed. Crew members were sucked into space. Torres pulled away as the Dominion fleet finally began to react. But they were slow. Their targeting systems were designed for honorable combat, where enemies announced themselves and fought in formation. They had never faced an enemy that hid in shadows and struck without warning. In the first hour of battle, humanity destroyed 200 Dominion ships. The carriers fell from the sky like burning stars. The citizens of Earth watched from below, and for the first time, they felt hope. Verthan stood in the damaged bridge of his flagship. Green blood dripped from a cut on his face. Around him, his officers looked at their screens with disbelief. "This is impossible," his weapons officer said. "We have lost more ships in 1 hour than in the last 1,000 years. How are they doing this?" Verthan stared at the tactical display. The human ships moved in ways that made no sense. They did not follow any pattern he recognized. They attacked and vanished. They used their own damaged ships as shields. They sent false signals to confuse his sensors. "They do not fight with honor," he said slowly. "They fight to win." On Earth, Admiral Cole watched the battle from his command center. He allowed himself a small smile. The first phase was complete, but he knew this was only the beginning. "Send the second wave," he ordered. "Show them what else we have been hiding. From shipyards hidden in asteroids, from bases buried beneath the surface of Mars, from stations disguised as space junk, the human fleet emerged. 300 warships that the Dominion had never detected. They had been built in secret over 30 years, designed with one purpose: to fight this exact enemy. Verthan watched the new ships appear on his sensors. His throat went dry. "High Commander," his communications officer said. "The Council is requesting a report." Verthan did not know what to say. He had promised an easy victory. He had promised a species of frightened primitives who would surrender at the first sign of force. Instead, he had found something else. Something dangerous. "Tell the Council," he said carefully, "that the humans are not like other species. They do not fight like prey." He paused, searching for the right words. "They fight like something the galaxy has forgotten. Something we should have remembered." "What do you mean, High Commander?" Verthan watched another Dominion ship explode on his screen. "They fight like predators." Dr. Laura Bennett worked through the night in her communication center. She had broken the encryption on Dominion signals, and now she listened to everything they said. What she heard made her smile. "Daniel," she called to Commander Hayes. "You need to hear this." Daniel came to her station. She played the intercepted transmission. It was from Verthan to the Dominion Council, but it hadn't been broadcast on an open channel. Every species in the galaxy with the right equipment could hear it. When the message ended, Daniel understood. They are afraid. More than that, Lavra said. They broadcast on an open channel. Every slave world in the Dominion heard that message. They know we are fighting. They know we are winning. Their eyes were bright. We just gave hope to 100 billion slaves. Daniel looked at the tactical display. The battle was still raging. Humans were dying, but they were also killing. They were proving that the Dominion could bleed. This is just the first day, he said. They will send more ships. They will not give up easily. Neither will we, Lavra said, dot above Earth. The battle continued. Captain Torres flew mission after mission until his hands cramped on the controls. Megan Park fired until her weapons ran dry, then flew back to reload and return to the fight. Across the fleet, humans fought with everything they had by dawn. The Dominion had lost 500 ships. They had never suffered such losses. They retreated to the edge of the solar system to wait for reinforcements. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. They had won the first battle. But Daniel Hayes stood alone, looking up at the stars. He knew the truth. This war was just beginning. And somewhere, on slave worlds across the galaxy, billions of beings looked up at their own stars and whispered a word they had not spoken in generations. Hope. 2 weeks passed. The Dominion did not attack again. They were waiting for reinforcements, building their strength for a final push. They believed that time was on their side. They were wrong. On Mars, factories that had been silent for years came alive. Robots worked around the clock, building ships, weapons, and armor. The red planet glowed with the light of 1,000 forges. What would have taken other species decades to build, humanity created in days. Commander Daniel Hayes walked to the largest factory with Admiral Cole. Around them, workers moved with purpose. There was no fear in their eyes anymore. Only determination. How many ships? Daniel asked. 600 by the end of the week, Cole replied. Plus the automated defenders. We have been preparing for this for 30 years. Now we finally get to use what we built. On Earth, General Christina Reyes prepared for ground combat. She was a small woman with dark hair and cold eyes. She had fought in jungles and deserts, in cities and mountains. Now she trained her soldiers for a new kind of war. The Dominion thinks they can land troops and take our cities, she told her commanders. They are used to species that surrender. They do not know what urban warfare means. We will teach them. Her soldiers practiced fighting in ruined buildings. They learned to use every shadow, every doorway, every rooftop. They prepared traps and ambush that would turn every street into a death zone. Deep beneath a mountain in Colorado, something else was being prepared. The collective voice was humanity's greatest secret. It was an artificial intelligence created from networked human minds. Thousands of volunteers who had linked their thoughts to a central computer. It could think faster than any machine. It could predict enemy movements before they happened. The Dominion reinforcements will arrive in 3 days. The collective voice told Daniel through a speaker in the underground chamber. His voice was strange, both human and not human at the same time. 50,000 ships. They are bringing everything they have. Can we win? Daniel asked. Probability of victory is low but possible. However, I have calculated something interesting. The Dominion has never lost a war. They do not know how to handle defeat. If we can shock them badly enough, their coalition will begin to crack. Dr. Laura Bennett entered the chamber. She had been working without sleep for days, monitoring Dominion communications. Daniel, I have news. The slave worlds are watching us. They have been sharing our story through secret channels. Some of them are planning rebellions. Daniel felt something shift in his chest. Hope? Real hope? For the first time since this began. Can we contact them? He asked. I can set up a broadcast that will reach most of the Dominion. But if we do this, we are not just fighting for Earth anymore. We are promising to free the entire galaxy. Daniel looked at Cole, then at the walls of screens showing the preparations across the solar system. Humanity had risen to this challenge in ways he never imagined. But was it enough? Do it, he said. We did not start this war, but we are going to finish it. Lavra worked for 6 hours preparing the message. When she was ready, Daniel stood before a camera. His words would be heard by billions of beings across 1,000 worlds. My name is Daniel Hayes of Earth, he began. 2 weeks ago, the Galactic Dominion came to our world and demanded that we become slaves. We refused. They attacked. We fought back. And we won. He paused, letting the words sink in. I know you are watching. I know you have been slaves for generations, some of you for thousands of years. I know you have forgotten what freedom feels like. But I want you to know this. We will not stop fighting. We will not surrender. And when we win, we are coming for you. His voice grew stronger. The Dominion tells you that resistance is impossible. They tell you that the elder races are too powerful to fight. They lied. We are humans. We are young. We are small. And we are beating them. If we can do it, so can you. He leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. Rise up. Fight back. Even if you cannot win alone, make them pay for every world they have stolen. And hold on, because humanity is coming. We will free you. Every world. Every species. Every slave in this galaxy. I promise you. The broadcast ended. Lavra looked at him with tears in her eyes. That was beautiful. It was true, Daniel said. Now we have to make it happen. On the other side of the galaxy, a young alien named Zethra watched the broadcast in secret. Zethra was Keth, the same species as Ambassador Kethril. But unlike the ambassador, Zethra had always questioned the Dominion's ways. Zethra worked as a data processor on Aethys Prime, the Dominion capital. Every day, Zethra saw reports of slave worlds, of populations worked to death, of children taken from their parents. It was wrong. Zethra had always known it was wrong. But there had never been hope for change. Until now. Zethra copied Daniel's message and sent it through underground networks. Within hours, it had reached 12 slave worlds. Within days, the first riots began. On Velos 3, slaves in the mining camps stopped working. They barricaded themselves in the tunnels and refused to come out. On Kethral Prime, domestic servants poisoned their masters and fled into the wilderness. On 100 small worlds, beings who had been broken for generations suddenly remembered that they had once been free. The Dominion Council watched these reports with growing panic. High Commander Verthin stood before them, his scales pale with stress. The humans have turned our slaves against us, said one council member. We must crush Earth immediately. That is what we intend, Verthin replied. Our fleet will arrive in 2 days. We will destroy their planet completely. Without Earth, the rebellion will die. But another council member, an ancient Valorian named Sylvana, spoke quietly. Will it? Hope is a dangerous thing, High Commander. You cannot kill hope by destroying one world. The humans have planted a seed that will grow regardless of what happens to them. Verthin hissed. Then we will burn every world that rebels. And how many ships will that require? How many soldiers? While you chase rebellions across the galaxy, what happens to our trade routes? Our economy? Our power? Sylvana shook her head. The humans have changed something fundamental. Even if we win this battle, we may have already lost the war. The council fell silent. For the first time in 50,000 years, they were afraid. Above Earth, Admiral Cole gave the order for Operation Prometheus, humanity's first offensive strike beyond the solar system. 100 ships, loaded with the best soldiers and pilots Earth had to offer, jumped into hyperspace. Their mission was simple: attack Dominion, supply lines, and show the galaxy that humans could strike anywhere. Captain Torres led the assault wing. As his ship entered hyperspace, he looked back at Earth, a small blue dot growing smaller by the second. "Do not worry," Megan said beside him. "We will be back." "I know," Torres replied. "But when we return, nothing will be the same. We are not just defending our home anymore. We are starting a revolution." The stars stretched around them as they flew toward war. 2 months had passed Dominion ships appeared above Earth. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Commander Alex Rowe stood on the bridge of the Liberation, flagship of humanity's freedom fleet. Around him, human officers worked alongside aliens who had been slaves just weeks before. The crew was strange and beautiful, a mix of species who had found common cause. "Commander," said his tactical officer, a forearm being called Tith, who had escaped from the Mayan colonies, "we are approaching Velos 3. Dominion forces are in orbit." Rowe nodded. Velos 3 was a slave world where 50 million beings worked in underground mines. They had risen up after hearing Daniel's broadcast, but the Dominion had sent ships to crush the rebellion. Now the Liberation Fleet was coming to help. "All ships, battle formation," Rowe ordered. "Remember why we are here. There are people on that world counting on us." The battle was brutal but short. The Dominion had sent only 20 ships to handle the slave uprising, never expecting that humans would come so far to help. Rowe's fleet destroyed them in under an hour. When the Liberation landed on Velos 3, the freed slaves gathered around the human soldiers. Many of them had never seen their liberators before. They touched their skin, their hair, their strange round faces. "You came," said an old slave, tears running down her face. "You actually came." Rowe knelt before her. "We promised." Humanity keeps its promises. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on a dozen worlds. Human fleets struck Dominion supply lines, freed slave populations, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They fought like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. On Avis Prime, the Dominion Council met in emergency session. The war was going badly. Their supply lines were broken. Their slave worlds were in rebellion. And worst of all, the elder races were beginning to question the Dominion's power. "We cannot continue like this," said Verthan. His scales had gone gray with stress. He had aged years in the past 2 months. "The humans are not just defeating us militarily. They are destroying the idea that we cannot be defeated. If that idea dies, our empire dies with it. Then we must do something that cannot be ignored," said a council member from the Drath species. "Something that shows the galaxy the true cost of defying us." The council fell silent. They all knew what he meant. The silence. The silence was the Dominion's final weapon, built 10,000 years ago during the last Great Rebellion. It was a ship the size of a moon, carrying a weapon that could destroy stars. It had been used only once to end a war that had threatened to tear the Dominion apart. The entire species that had rebelled was now extinct. Their star was a cold, dead thing. "Is that wise?" asked Elder Matriarch Sylvana of the Valorians. She was old even by Dominion standards, her silver scales dull with age. "The silence is meant to be a last resort. Using it will frighten our allies as much as our enemies." "Our allies are already frightened," Vortham replied. "They watch us lose battle after battle to a species we declared slaves. We must remind them why the Dominion has ruled for 50,000 years." He turned to the council. I move that we deploy the silence against Earth. We will destroy their star and end this war forever." The vote passed. Sylvana was the only one who opposed it. That night, Sylvana contacted Earth through a secret channel. Her face appeared on Laura Bennett's screen, ancient and tired. "Dr. Bennett," Sylvana said, "I am Elder Matriarch Sylvana of the Valorians. I am betraying my people by speaking to you. But I believe my people betrayed themselves long ago." Laura's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "The Dominion was not always what it is now. 50,000 years ago, we were a true alliance. We helped young species grow and learn. We shared knowledge freely. But over time, fear replaced trust. Control replaced cooperation. We became the thing we once fought against." Sylvana paused. "And now we are about to commit a crime that cannot be undone." "What crime?" "The Council has voted to deploy the silence against Earth. It is a weapon that can destroy stars. Your sun will be gone within 72 hours. Your world will freeze. Your species will die." Lavra felt the blood drain from her face. "Can anything stop it?" "The silence is heavily defended. But it has a weakness. It must charge for 6 hours before it can fire. During that time, its shields must be lowered. If you can board it during that window, you might be able to capture or destroy it." Sylvana transmitted a file. "This contains everything I know about the silence. Its defenses, its crew, its weak points. Use it well. Why are you helping us?" Sylvana smiled sadly. "Because I remember what the galaxy was like before fear ruled everything. Because I watched your Commander Hayes speak, and I saw something I had not seen in 10,000 years. Courage. Real courage. Not the courage of power, but the courage of those who fight even when they cannot win." She shook her head. "The Dominion deserves to fall. Perhaps from its ashes, something better will grow." The transmission ended. Lavra ran to find Daniel. On Idas Prime, Zethra had also learned about the silence. Unlike Sylvana, Zethra was not old or powerful, just a data processor who had stumbled onto classified files. But Zethra knew what had to be done. The young, Keth recorded a message and prepared to send it to Earth through the underground network. It contained the exact coordinates of the silence's approach, its projected arrival time, and the size of its escort fleet dot before sending the message. Zethra was caught. Dominion security surrounded the small apartment where Zethra lived. They demanded surrender. Zethra had seconds to decide. The message was sent. A moment later, Dominion soldiers broke down the door. Zethra did not resist. There was no point. The job was done as they dragged Zethra away. The young Kath felt something strange. Peace. For the first time in a life spent questioning and doubting. Zethra had done something that mattered. On Earth. Daniel received both messages within minutes of each other. He gathered his command staff in the war room. Cole was there, along with Laura, General Reyes, and representatives from every branch of Earth's military. "We have 72 hours before the silence arrives," Daniel said. "When it fires, our sun will die. Every human on Earth, on Mars, everywhere in our system will die with it." The room was silent. "But we also have something the Dominion does not expect. We have friends. We have information about their weapon. And we have something they have forgotten exists." Daniel looked around at the faces of his people. "We have the willingness to risk everything." Admiral Cole stepped forward. "I will lead the main fleet against the silence escort. Every ship we have. We will keep them busy while a boarding party captures the weapon." "I will lead the boarding party," Daniel said. Laura grabbed his arm. "Daniel, no. You are too important. This is too important for me not to go." He covered her hand with his. "If we fail, it does not matter where I am. But if we succeed, I want to be there. I want to look the Dominion in the eye when they realize they have lost." He turned to the rest of the room. "Get our people ready. This is everything we have fought for comes down to the next 3 days." As the meeting broke up, Lavra stayed behind. "Zethra," she said quietly. "The Keth who sent us the coordinates. The message said they were captured." Daniel nodded. "I know. They sacrificed themselves to save us. A species they had never met. That is what this war has become," Daniel said. "It is not just humans fighting for Earth. It is everyone who believes in freedom fighting for everyone else." He looked out the window at the stars. "We cannot let their sacrifice be meaningless." Somewhere in the darkness, the silence was coming, and humanity was preparing to meet it. The silence was larger than anything Daniel had ever imagined. It hung in space like a dark moon, surrounded by 500 Dominion warships. Its surface was covered in weapons platforms and shield generators. At its heart was the Starkiller, a weapon that had ended civilizations. Daniel stood on the bridge of his assault ship, watching the massive weapon approach. Behind him, 100 soldiers prepared for the boarding mission. They knew most of them would not survive. They went anyway. "All ships, this is Admiral Cole," came the voice over the communicator. "The enemy fleet is engaging. We will hold them as long as possible. Commander Hayes, you have a small window. Use it well." The human fleet crashed into the Dominion formation like a wave hitting rocks. Ships exploded on both sides. Laser fire and missiles turned the darkness into a storm of light. Cole's flagship led the charge, drawing the enemy away from the silence. "Now," Daniel ordered. "Full speed." His assault ship shot forward, followed by 2 others. They were small enough to slip through the chaos, fast enough to reach the silence before its shields came back up. Captain Torres flew the lead ship, his hands moving with the skill of a true master. "We are taking fire," Megan reported. "Port shields at 60%. "Keep going," Torres said. "We only need to get close enough to dock." The silence loomed ahead of them. Its surface was a maze of metal and machinery. Daniel spotted the docking bay they needed, a small opening near the weapons control center. "There," he pointed. "Take us in." Torres flew through a storm of defensive fire. The ship shook and screamed. Alarms blared, but they kept going. Nothing could stop them now. The assault ship crashed into the docking bay. The impact threw everyone forward. Daniel was on his feet before the dust settled. "Move!" he shouted. "We have 30 minutes before the shields come back up." 100 soldiers poured out of the ships and into the silence. The corridors were huge, built for species much larger than humans. But humans were fast and small. They used that to their advantage. The first Dominion guards fell before they knew what was happening. Daniel led from the front, his rifle firing in short bursts. Beside him, Megan covered his flank with deadly accuracy. "Control center is 2 levels up," she said, checking her scanner. "Heavy resistance ahead. Then we go through them." The battle through the silence was brutal. Dominion soldiers were larger and stronger than humans. But humans were faster, smarter, and fighting for everything they loved. They pushed forward through hallways filled with smoke and fire. Daniel lost track of how many soldiers fell. Good people. Brave people. He remembered their faces and kept fighting. Their sacrifice had to mean something. After 20 minutes of constant battle, they reached the control center. A massive door blocked their way, 10 feet of solid metal. "We cannot cut through this," one of his soldiers said. "We do not need to." Daniel pulled out a device the collective voice had created. It was designed to interface with Dominion systems, to turn their own technology against them. He placed it on the door and stepped back. The door slid open. Inside, a dozen Dominion officers stared at them in shock. They had never imagined humans could get this far. They reached for their weapons. They were too slow. When the shooting stopped, Daniel walked to the main control panel. Through the window, he could see Earth in the distance, a small blue dot against the black. His home, his people, everything he was fighting for. How do we destroy it? Megan asked. Daniel looked at the controls. The collective voice had given him another option, one he had not shared with his soldiers. We do not destroy it, he said. We take it. He began entering commands, using the code Sylvana had provided. The silence shuddered as its navigation systems accepted new orders. Slowly, the massive weapon began to turn toward Others Prime, the Dominion capital in the space around the silence. The battle raged on. Cole's fleet was outnumbered and taking heavy losses. But they refused to retreat. Every second they fought gave Daniel more time. Admiral, came a voice over Cole's communicator. The silence is moving. It is heading toward Dominion space. Cole laughed. For the first time in months, he actually laughed. He did it. The crazy fool actually did it. The Dominion commanders saw what was happening. Their ultimate weapon turned against them. Panic spread through their fleet. Some ships tried to chase the silence. Others fled. Their formation collapsed. On Aethys Prime, the Dominion Council watched in horror as the silence approached their world. The weapon that had made them invincible was now pointed at their heart. Daniel appeared on their screens. His face was covered in blood and dirt. Behind him, human soldiers stood guard over captured Dominion officers. Council members of the Galactic Dominion, he said. I am Commander Daniel Hayes of Earth. I am standing on your silence. Your weapon is now pointing at your homeworld. Verthan stared at the screen. You would not dare. You would kill billions of innocent beings. No, Daniel said. I would not. That is the difference between us. You were willing to destroy my world without hesitation. I am willing to spare yours. He leaned forward. But my mercy has conditions. What conditions? Slavery ends today. Every slave world in the Dominion is freed immediately. Your ships withdraw from all occupied territories. You will pay reparations to every species you have harmed. And you will face justice for your crimes. Impossible, Verthan snarled. The Dominion has ruled for 50,000 years. We will not surrender to primitive animals. Then your world dies. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some members screamed at Verthan to fight. Others begged for surrender. In the middle of it all, Elder Matriarch Sylvana stood and raised her hand for silence. Enough, she said. Her voice was quiet but carried the weight of 10,000 years. Look at us, fighting over whether to continue a war we have already lost. The humans have shown us what we have become. Tyrants, slavers, monsters. She turned to face the council. I vote to accept their terms. The Valorian people will no longer be part of this dominion. One by one, other species followed. The coalition that had held together for 50,000 years cracked and broke. Verthan watched his empire fall apart, powerless to stop it. It is over, Sylvana said to Daniel through the screen. You have won. Daniel felt the weight of the moment. Millions had died in this war. Humans and aliens alike. They had paid a terrible price for this victory. No, he said. Freedom won. Now we have to build something better. 1 year later, Daniel stood before the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the vast chamber. Humans sat among them as equals, not as slaves or conquerors. Laver stood beside him as he addressed the gathering. 1 year ago, my people were told we would be slaves. We refused. We fought. And we won. But this victory does not belong to humanity alone. It belongs to every being who dreamed of freedom, who risked everything for a better future. He looked around at the faces watching him. So many different species. So many different stories. All of them here because they believed in something bigger than themselves. We have a chance to build something new, Daniel continued. A galaxy where every species is equal, where no one is enslaved, where the strong help the weak instead of crushing them. It will not be easy. We will disagree. We will struggle. But we will do it together. After the speech, Laura found Daniel standing alone, looking out a window at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "All the people who did not make it here. Zethra, the soldiers who died on the Silence. Everyone who gave their lives so we could have this moment." He was quiet for a long time. "I hope we deserve their sacrifice." Laura took his hand. "We will make sure we do. What do we do now? The war is over. Slavery is ended. What comes next?" Daniel smiled. It was not the cold smile of war anymore. It was something warmer, something hopeful. "The same thing humanity has always done," he said. "We survive. We adapt. We grow. And we make sure no one is ever enslaved again." He squeezed her hand. "We have a galaxy to rebuild. Let us get to work." Outside the window, 1,billion stars burned against the darkness. Each one held worlds full of beings who were free for the first time in generations. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity had changed it.